the project that Bruce was talking about, a library theater. We met with the executive director of the library, and she indicated that they've got a 35,000 square foot facility built in the 70s, somewhat antiquated, not necessarily digital, not necessarily efficient. And that what they were looking for was how they could grow it between 50 and 75,000 square feet in a brand new facility. As we started looking at how we could do this, they gave us the epicenter as to exactly where they wanted it to be, because that's where their clients were. And as we started looking at this, she said, all right, well, you have a library that has a number of lecture series and book reports and children's programs. They need a lecture hall. And we started looking at what other private sector businesses might be out there that we could join forces with and basically use the private sector cash flow to pay for this. And with the movie theater concept, first run movie theater, 15 screens, we found a group that basically has done a couple hundred AMC theaters. They've done public-private partnerships with community centers. And by marrying these two, we can get about $1.7 million a year of cash flow off of a movie theater to pay for the bonds for 100% of the project. And that's what Bruce was talking about. How can we build something where it costs the taxpayers nothing? We have a much more efficient, state-of-the-art, digital type of a facility, and that's what we're focused on here. Consolidated government office facility. As you're aware, post office down on 32nd and Main, post office right down by the depot, and Main Street as well. In talking with the postmaster, I will tell you, and I'm sure you read about it in the newspaper, in most rural cities, the last major building, if you will, on Main Street to go is the post office. And with the U.S. Postal Service having cash flow issues that they have at this point in time, it makes it very difficult for them to continue to operate. So we sat down with the postmaster. We've spoken with their leadership in Denver as well as in Washington from the standpoint of how can we consolidate and get a much more robust, efficient post office, consolidated between 32nd and the depot along Main Street. And that's what we're focused on, that being the ground floor anchor on the first floor, but then also working with state agencies to be able to bring the 100-some thousand square feet of state agency facilities, consolidate them into one building. So that way you end up having a couple 100,000 square foot facility that again becomes that anchor along Main Street that attracts foot traffic that want to come to that building, that attracts all the retailers, all the restaurants as well. And so we'll focus on that. SMART, this is a project that when I was mayor, we basically put together a task force as to what we wanted to be when we grew up. What type of entertainment assets did we want? What do we want? Minor league baseball, performance halls, amphitheaters, what do we want? And we basically went around and started looking, started touring as to those type of assets. And what we found was that the economic impact of these type of assets are very significant to a community. They're significant from the standpoint if somebody wants to go and watch Jimmy Buffett at an amphitheater, or go see a Broadway show in the performance hall, or go to SPIVA in the visual arts area, but to be able to have that type of a facility. It's extremely important from that standpoint, but also when you're talking to major corporations about the reasons why they would want to come to your community, you need to have an offering of additional products such as this. And so that's something that we're focusing on. Gary's already talked about the downtown education complex. This is something that we feel very optimistic about at this point in time. And there'll be more to discuss about this when we're ready to start revealing exactly what the education facility it is. But again, this would be on the 90,000 square foot footprint over by the 300 block on Main Street. And the multi-purpose event venue, again, this is not just about bringing a minor league baseball team here. I will tell you that we are building a minor league baseball stadium, a multi-purpose event venue in downtown Amarillo. The baseball team is the Amarillo Sox. We sat down with the ownership of the Amarillo Sox as well as the league commissioner and basically said, have you guys ever thought about going to Joplin? Their comment was, well, yeah, we've actually been to Joplin, and surprisingly, they said that they met with somebody here. I said, who did you meet with? And he said, well, there was a guy by the name of Gary Box. So I had no idea that Gary was with the Sports Authority at the time. He met with them, and they were talking about doing something over at Joe Becker Stadium. I said, well, if there were a new stadium there, we would have an interest in actually coming. So we've been working with them on this, and guys, a multi-purpose event venue, you might have 60 home games. That's great, it gets people there, that's wonderful, but it's not just about that. Most of these venues have close to 200 events, whether it's concerts, community events, philanthropic events. It's a gathering place for the community. And it's good family entertainment. I remember in Corpus Christi, the Corpus Christi Hooks, we paid $10 for our ticket. I was thinking, that's a pretty good deal. And it was a ticket, hot dog, soft drink, and a t-shirt. And it was all about good family entertainment. And that's the type of an asset, the type of venue that we're focused on here. And then, last but not least, a hotel and convention center. We've had a lot of people share with us that the convention center is of a size that we're missing a number of trade associations that pass by Joplin because it's too small or it's somewhat antiquated. And so we're doing some market studies at this point in time to determine whether or not this is a facility that we would be able to do here. The challenges, and I'll close after this. Limitations on use of federal funds. Our deal is many times you have a square peg in a round hole and it just doesn't fit. And what we're focused on is how can we take that square peg and round it out so that it actually can fit for a particular funding need that we have here in Joplin. We've already talked about the home ownership issue. Our goal is how can we get people into the private ownership of a home that may have just been renting before. And our goal is to be able to do this. And if you have questions about that principal reduction program, we'll be rolling that out in the next 30 to 60 days. And again, that's $40 million of capital that's already been committed here in Joplin. The land consolidation, as I mentioned, is over 8,000 parcels. We're having to do a lot of acquisition on behalf of the Redevelopment Corporation. And then last but not least, time. Time is extremely important because everyone wants this done yesterday. And we get that. And if we were just focused on one or two of these projects, that would be one thing. But all of these projects we're trying to advance at the same time, which is why we have co-development partners, so that it's not just relying on our balance sheet, but also the balance sheet of others with capital, but also their personnel, those resources, as we move forward. So we're going to continue to have a number of public meetings. We're going to continue to gather the input and make sure that we hear what you say as it relates to your likes and dislikes. Community Development Block Grant Program, obviously, I mentioned a moment ago, the city has already secured that capital. It's already here. We're moving forward on certain action plans that we need to with HUD. The Redevelopment Corporation has now finally signed off on all the policies, procedures, and business plan, so we're moving forward on that. The Salvation Army contracts, we're getting very close to finalizing those. Market studies, business plans. And the tax increment finance district, I want to make sure that everyone fully understands this. We are about to start rolling out some public meetings, and I know Jane is dying for me to finish up right now. And she's standing over there.
I'm getting closer and closer.
I know. I want to take this opportunity because I want to make sure that as you start reading about tax increment financing, what it is. And let me tell you what it's not. It is not a tax. It is not a new tax. It is not. If somebody is paying $5 in taxes today, we create a TIF district tomorrow, you're still paying $5 in taxes. What we basically are creating is an environment, a finance tool that within a certain district, as we start building these assets, those assets are going to pay ad valorem, pay property taxes to the city, to the county, to other areas. A TIF district enables us to be able to take all of that increment above what is presently being paid today, to be able to funnel that back to the city to be able to pay these bonds. That is a TIF district. And then we're also rolling out legislation for a super TIF, which means the sales tax that goes to Jefferson City that generally doesn't come back here. Well, this will enable that sales tax to be able to come back and get that capital back here into Joplin. So I'm going to say it again. It is not a new tax. It's not going to adversely affect anyone sitting in this room, period. And then the public and private sector documents will be done with those very quickly as well. So.
That is this afternoon.
Okay. This is my voice.
I know that's on